Billy back here, broship of the nerds. You know, I had one of these situations where I thought I already did this video, and I guess I did it in my head, not actually on camera. So, last October, I had the privilege of traveling, and I'm going to be doing a series of reviews of a few places I've traveled to. So, October of 2023, um, Viper and I and one of my other friends went to out east. We traveled east and our first stop was Gettysburg. Now, I'm going to give you some kind of like our experience with Gettysburg, maybe some pointers to help you out along your travels. So we got out to Gettysburg in the afternoon and had a late lunch, and there was like no customers in this Italian restaurant because it was like 1:30 in the afternoon, so it was really quiet. And we're eating our lunch, and the one of the waitresses asked us. She said, "Do you guys like Halloween?" And we just at the word Halloween, we just perked up because I myself and Viper both, and my other friend that was with us, love Halloween and all things spooky season. Well, anyways, so she's like, "Hey, there's a Halloween parade this evening here in downtown Gettysburg." We're like, "Really?" So we spent the day walking around. They had like this company that does ghost tours. We just didn't have time for it because we wanted to really see the parade. So we walked around downtown Gettysburg, and there are so many cool shops. I ended up getting with my friend one of my best friends a Sasquatch cup that was like a glass. So that was really cool. So we're walking around downtown, we're shopping around, we meet some really cool people, and like I said, they have like handmade items. They also have shops that have like glasses, candles. I even bought some of that Sasquatch soap that they had. You could buy individually there, so that was cool. And they had Civil War themed like restaurants and things of that nature. But I will say, parking, really watch the signs. We accidentally got a parking in a no handicap zone, even though it was metered and it wasn't clearly marked. So we may have just missed it, but be careful where parking. And I recommend even taking a picture of where you park so that way you have proof of where you park, that sort of thing. It was really odd. And I don't know, like, I feel like there should have been better signage because there were no signs, as what we could see. So that was the only down part. Workers are real friendly. They're used to tourists, obviously, and everything. So we went to the parade, and the parade was incredible. My friend Viper, Ryan, whatever you want to call him, he got incredible pictures. He actually got those printed, and I will have to get those next time I see him. But we got pictures of the parade. People were in costumes, of course. It was cold that night, so we were bundled up. But going down the street, there were all sorts of vehicles that were decked out, and this parade was long, which was incredible. We expected like maybe 20 minutes. It was like an hour or more. It was awesome. There were just so many vehicles, and just when he thought it was done, there were more. But it might not have been an hour, but it's probably close to it. And, of course, we were there just to see who had the coolest vehicles, costumes, decorations, that sort of thing. And we ended up calling in tonight and getting a hotel for the night uh, after that. We found a hotel for that night because originally the plan was we were going to go to Gettysburg for a day. I will say you'll need at least 2 days because we wanted to see the battlefield, but because we had arrived later and by the time we got done eating, it was like 2:33. So we definitely were like, well, we don't want to rush through the battlefield because it might take a while. And then the next morning, we were driving trying to find this. There's like a self-guided audio tour you can take in your car, and we were having a hard time finding where we start. So there was a visitor center there in Gettysburg, and we walked in there, and one of the employees told us where to go. So we spent a little bit of time in the visitor center because it also has like a museum where and a shop. So we looked in the shop, got some things. My friend bought the Gettysburg movie that's really incredible, and because we watched that in high school, and it's one of my favorite Civil War pieces. And then they had different books and such in the visitor center. They have scrolls you can write on like parchment, and they have the old fashioned ink, so you can make yourself, some ink to write with. Really cool. And then we also looked at the museum parts, which had like guns and Civil War, outfits and stuff. You could buy like a Union or Confederate hat, but they kind of were a little bit small for my big head, so I didn't get one, but they were kind of cool looking. And then they had different items like coins you could get for how the coins looked back then. So we got directions, we got ourselves coffee, then we made our way to spot number one. And this is a tour in which you go to spot number one, you'll stop, you'll park in that area, you'll park, hit play on the audio tour, and the videos are fairly short, but very informative. They're a few minutes long each. Some of them might have been like 5, but they describe the significance of the spot you're in. And we started this early in the day. Like by the time we got out there, I'm gonna say it was like maybe 10 or 11. So we got out there and we had eaten breakfast, but we didn't eat lunch that day, so we were starving by the time it was over. But we started at spot number one, and after you listen to the clip, you can get out and walk around in that area as much as you want. So if you just wanted to drive through, because it does say, like, I think it says 2 to 3 hours recommended, we ended up spending about, I'm gonna say 6 to 7 hours sounds about right, because we went to spot one, listened, walked around for quite a while, took pictures, that sort of thing. There are a lot of artifacts, statues, memorabilia, that sort of thing throughout the battlefield. And this self-guided audio tour is really incredible. I was impressed because you could definitely tell they put a lot of thought and research into this process, and it was really cool. So we did like spot one, we kept going. There were parts where there was a sign that would say, like, where the Confederates and the Union met to commemorate the anniversary of the battle. And at first there was still bad blood, but as soon as the Union soldiers invited, there was an invitation to both the Union and Confederate soldiers, it sort of helped them move on from the past. So the veterans came, they got a picture, and they got a thing placed there, and we actually stood where that monument is. So that was cool to think that we stood where Civil War veterans once stood for that. And there are different spots where it'll tell you, like, here this happened, and you can actually walk and try to like recreate the formations or how things would have looked. And, as you all know, Gettysburg was a very significant battle, and there's a lot of artifacts here. And there were 2 spots that were closed, and one of the guys made a joke that it was government funded, so that meant it was going to be a while. It's that sort of thing. So we had a good laugh at that, because there was another tour near us, and we were able to overhear some of the stuff they were saying. And it was just, he had a good sense of humor, but they were doing like a bus thing where they would stop and get out. Well, anyways, it was nice and warm that day, probably in the 70s. By the time you walk around, though, you got a little warm. And I end up getting like an anniversary of the battle shirt. I didn't bring to show you guys, but it has like the anniversary, how many years it's been, that sort of thing. And after we got done walking around all these spots, even with the closed spots, there was like a peach orchard. That was really cool to see. Like the ground there was beautiful. It was a perfect day. I don't know how we got so lucky, but we did throughout our entire trip, except even the days that were kind of cold and rainy were still okay. But anyways, we got done with that part, and then the final stop was the cemetery. And it was really cool because they would have by state how many soldiers, and they would have unmarked ones, but they tried their best. It would say like Illinois, 5 bodies, that sort of thing. And that was cool to see that they did their best efforts in order to honor all of the soldiers from both sides. And there was just a lot of information. And then we ended up having, after we saw the cemetery, we were just tired and ready to eat. So we got in, there was one place that was packed. So we ended up going to like a barbecue place that had really incredible ribs. And we drank our water, and because we were slightly dehydrated, but not too bad, we drank the hell out of water and um, ate our food and had really good ribs. We were going to go to the Union Confederate themed Civil War restaurant, but it was going to be like a 2 to 3 hour wait. So we ended up just going to this barbecue place, and it was really good food, but it was less crowded. So I would advise, if you have your heart set on a certain place, get there really early, or make sure you've eaten and you're not like starving. That way you have plenty of time. But it had been, like I said, we had a breakfast at like, I think it was like a motel breakfast at like 8, and then our next meal was like 6 at night. So it was like 10-hour gap there. And after walking, I don't know how many miles, we were ready. So the pros, people of Gettysburg, very friendly. There's a lot to see. I would allow one whole day for the battlefield, because after a while, historical artifacts just look like historical artifacts, kind of thing. You kind of, your brain sort of shuts off. I would say allow at least 2 days. If you're going just for Gettysburg and you're not like doing what we were doing and going all over the East Coast, I would say you could do 3 days here easily, but allow at least two. Unless you could do the battlefield in one if you're just doing what we did. But if you're wanting to see what everything Gettysburg has to offer, I would say at least do 2 days, one for the downtown, and the events are really cool. The people in the town are really friendly, fun to be around. The shop owners are very talkative, and we had some very good conversations with them. And yeah, it's a really neat place to check out. The only con was the parking thing, but once again, that was just sort of unclear with the what's it called? With the signage. So that's the only thing. Their signage could be better. So be careful when you park, because like I said, we used a meter, but and it was far away too. So even if it was a handicap spot, it would have been very inconvenient because of how far it was from everything. But yeah, get there early, go explore the downtown, and then go explore the battlefield. So at least I'd say minimum 1 day for just battlefield, 2 days for downtown and battlefield, 3 days if you really want to spend a little extra time getting to see everything, because I know there's stuff we missed. And like I said, guys, very welcoming people and a really cool part of American history. So that is my review on Gettysburg, and I will soon be doing a Niagara Falls Times Square travel review. So look for that on the channel soon.